Klein Garden is it's kind of a worldwide phenomenon, but it actually started in Leipzig. And it started from Moritz Schreber. That's why you also see it sometimes called Schreber Garden. And this is the 160th anniversary of his death. So I already I'd already had the concept of doing something in the Klein Garden, but that kind of pushed it forward because there were some funding applications with that as a theme. And so I actually wanted to do a bigger project. And as part of trying to organize the bigger project, then this culture, Verein nonprofit, offered me a garden. So the bigger project didn't happen, but the little garden gallery did happen. And my original project was that I wanted to have lots of different gardens and different organizations in them. Some were art, some were maybe international people or kids or, stuff about bees or whatever. Like I had a whole, hip hop, I had a whole bunch of people lined up. But as far as me doing the gallery is concerned, my main goal is always to reach people that wouldn't maybe normally be reached and to put different groups of people together. So that I'm super happy when I'm in a room and I know that those people would not be together if I hadn't invited them, for lack of a better word. So it's kind of about like dispelling the myths and rumors of the Klein Garden being horrible, and for the Klein Garden people, dispelling the myths and rumors that art is just for the elite.
Nice question. I didn't grow up on arts at all. So my family is very technique-oriented family, I would say. But I always loved writing and literature, like from little on. And this led me to study literature, arts, and media studies in Germany. So that was I did a bachelor in literature, arts, and media, but that was science-based rather than practical arts, something like that. And during my studies, I realized that I love the topic, I love everything about it, but the scientific part of it, even though I love thinking about it, I knew I wanted to do it rather than speak about it. So then I sneaked into art school in Spain with an Erasmus stipendium. It's like a European grant you get, and spent a year in the darkroom there. And from then on, I knew I wanted to study at art school and become an artist. So then I finished my bachelor and at the same time applied for art school here in Leipzig and got in. And since then, I'm just doing what I love to do.
I don't remember when I wasn't an artist. Like my whole life, I was always drawing. And I mean, I guess kids always draw, but I was doing it more. And even though my family didn't go to museums, they had absolutely no artistic knowledge or anything in their life. Like they encouraged me somehow. And I thought growing up in the States that I could never make enough money to make a living as an artist. So like when I started studying, first I studied graphic design, then I studied interior design, but those are not who I am. And I found out later in life that if I am not actually creating my art, then I don't have the, shall I say, mental stability to deal with life. So basically because there's periods when you're just working so that you can make enough money to make some art. And I found out that my mental health is not stable when I'm not creating. So I just am one. Always was. I went back to school again in the UK. But for me, it's not so much about studying it, but just doing it.
It used to be, well, it still is, but it kind of shifted. It's Tacita Dean. Tacita Dean, she's an, yeah, you know her. She's an English artist living in Berlin, working in Berlin. And I was just so fascinated by her, the words that she created, and the techniques she used to, create these words that are very, well, she takes from the world around her, right? But there's always this tiny shift that brought me very close to nature and very close to the way we tell stories about nature and humankind. So yeah, it was definitely Tacita Dean. And right now, I'm pretty fascinated by the works of Pierre Huyghe. He actually builds these ecosystems. And I think it's just amazing to work on site and create these massive spaces. And yeah, so right now I would say it's Pierre Huyghe.
I curated another space. I've been curating that one for like 7 years. So it helped me in a way that maybe you wouldn't expect. It didn't help me in the way of what I'm creating, but it helped me in a way of understanding what a gallerist needs from an artist. So like, because people would send me applications and I still wouldn't know what it was they wanted to do. You know, I sent out an open call. And so it helped me with my portfolio, with like maybe my written statements. It helped me with the technical, I guess, the admin aspects. And maybe it would help me also with installing different things, you know, because each show comes with its own, I want to say problems, but they're not problems. They're just, you know, just like the way they work within the space. So maybe it helped me with space planning. Although the interior design really, I think that really helped me a lot with the curation, to be honest.
I think, yeah, there's two aspects of it. One, and the very strong one, is the garden, actually. So my garden hobby has become part of my art, I would say. So I have a garden myself for a couple of years now. And yeah, trying to understand, well, it's a klein garden, and it's located at the border of where there used to be a quarry here in Leipzig. So a coal quarry, where they took the coal off the ground. So it's a
open pit coal mining.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Yeah. So it's right at the edge. So nature there is very young. It's like 40 years old or something like that. And so I found found the landscape quite interesting already, like in the first place. But the garden that I took over was a garden where there was no crops being planted or anything. There was just flowers and very few. The rest of it was just plain lawn, nothing else. And of course, I wanted to plant crops and get into the whole understanding the cycles of plants and stuff. And it was very interesting in the first 2 years to understand, or to find a way of not changing the landscape like in a kind of violent way, like ripping out everything, but to slowly grow it into a wilder space. So I've been doing that for 5 years now. And this way of contemplation, or contemplating, thinking with the soil, trying to understand how the whole thing works, actually has become, or has probably for a long time been, part of my practice. So I can definitely relate to that. And the other thing is sports, actually. So, or more specifically, swimming and yoga, which is also, it's pretty important to me. I do it a lot. I love it. And the way, especially, swimming and yoga are connected to art to me is this way of slowing down. It's actually slowing down, feeling like switching the inner gaze, like switching the gaze inwards somehow, trying to look at processes and feelings and all that. And that's also very much connected to art to me. It's a very nice question. I haven't thought about it. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, intense question. COVID kind of because I have asthma, so I was in a high risk group. So COVID actually kind of put me in that headspace. Like, okay, if going to the grocery store to buy toilet paper, which was not easy, or cat food, is my last, if I catch it while I'm out. Because that was a very real, for me anyway, that was a very real feeling. Like, what do I want to leave? And I'm not sure. A lot of my work never makes it out of the computer. A lot of my work doesn't get seen in the real world. So I feel like I kind of already have like a big body of work that maybe if I got really lucky after I died, somebody would say, oh, let's show all her stuff. But I do really like this piece that that you actually saw because you witnessed. And that's our connection with dance. I didn't realize we had a dance connection. The piece that I've been working on, that's not alone, because it talks about what's happening in the world, and it leaves room for improvisation, and it borders the line between dance and performance art. And so for me, I think that's, especially with dance, moving away from the classical, or at least the dance that I go to, moves away from the classical ballet and the commercial. This line between, I think that's really important to keep playing with and moving and pushing. And if I do anything to help that, then I'm quite happy. So, I mean, it's not the only thing I do, but maybe that would be the thing that would be the dearest to my heart, because I started dancing at like 38. So I came into that world really late, and I'm still not a performer. I'm more of a, I don't know how you describe me, but so maybe that, something that pushes these borders and plays with them.
I had like a gut feeling right after you asked the question, which is funny because usually it's like, wouldn't know. But I think if I really knew it would be my very last artwork, I would actually plant a field. I would actually really try to plant a field that is as self-sufficient as it can be and has as much variety as possible. So I think a big field of crops and plants would be my last artwork.
So the concept of the gallery is like, in the summer, we have art in the gallery. And then in the winter, we do digital works. So then those are all online. So the gallery functions year round, even though a Klein Garden is kind of a summer thing. And what I've done for this first one is each artist has added two. So I haven't taken anything away. As the new vernissage comes, that's the artist adding to the pieces. And so far, they just overlap. They don't interfere with each other. And I was the first artist. So I made like a little space outside that had to do with borders and what's a weed and what's not a weed. It's called I Am a Weed Who Identifies as a Flower. And it was about, because sometimes in the garden communities, there's all these really, like Victoria's garden was, these really hard lines, and like, here's this concrete and nothing should pass that line. So I moved plants from different places, plants that could be weeds or maybe are not weeds, and put them together in what looks like landscaping, because when you make it pretty, then it's, not a weed anymore. So obviously it's a commentary on society and immigration, of course. So that is part of the permanent collection. And Victoria's piece is also outside, and it's amazing. I love it so much already. And it is also part of the permanent collection. So these two pieces stay forever. Okay, that I just wanted to say, because that's how like monumental this piece is and how excited I am about it.
Well, I built a pond, and the pond is a red pond. So that's the work. I used a structure that was already in the garden, which is super nice, I think. I really love the idea of working with something that was already there and developing it further. So there was the concrete cast, a big concrete cask of 2 meters and 1.5 meters. And what I did was deepening it I just dug it deeper and built a nice pond with a very nice structure that I built from natural stone and a certain kind of mortar. It's called truss mortar. It's a certain kind of mortar that becomes waterproof. So not only because I wanted the pond to be red, but also for not using plastic foil or a plastic cast. I like the idea of trying to getting it waterproof with mortar, and it's got a really nice shape to it, like a fleshy organic shape. And it's going. Oh, sorry, I just got an. Okay. It's going to be filled with water, and that's it. Basically, I would love people to lie in there in summer when it's warm. That would be really nice. And the title is Red is the Light We See Through, and that is inspired by the moment when the baby is still in the belly and kind of opening its eyes, like not for the first time, but the glands the baby can take inside the body when the light shines through the skin, and that's where it comes from. So that's it, I think.